like to welcome everyone to the May 25th, 2023 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission. This meeting and hearings of the Conservation Commission will be held in person at the location noted above, which is the Town Hall, 29 Center Street. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option of remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting/hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technical problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with particular interest in any specific item on the agenda should and are encouraged to make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. All right, so. And of course, if you go to the meeting notice, there is a WebEx meeting link that will allow you to join this meeting. Okay, the first item of business is roll call. Okay, so let's go through the list. Say aye or present or here or something. We have Commissioner Bill Boyven.
Here.
Commissioner Rob Sheehan.
Here.
Okay. Commissioner Indra Deb.
Here.
All right. Commissioner Ed Laturco. We're expecting him, but he is not present yet. So we'll mark him absent for now. Okay. We have Commissioner Kent Moffett. He appears to be
He's not here today.
absent. Okay, and for the record, the chair, Larry Cohen, is present. All right, we have Conservation Administrator, John Keeley,
Present.
and Assistant Conservation Administrator, Eileen Coleman.
Present.
Okay. All right, so the next item of business is the approval of minutes for May 11th, 2023. Does anyone find a need to discuss these? Anything significant?
Nope.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 11th, 2023?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All right, so I'll call people in order.
We could just show hands, because there's nobody online.
Should I, even though we're expecting Ed, should we do it by roll call or to show of hands?
Can we start it again after?
Yeah. Just if he shows up, then we gotta do it
Then we
by
can do it,
roll,
yeah, should be okay.
Okay, all those in favor? 4-0-0. Okay, it
Larry,
passes.
even though there's nobody online, you did skip over public comments.
Yeah, I did. Okay. Right, John reminds me that we have a public comment period, and I noted no one was online, but I should call for it. Is there anybody who would like to address the commission about something that's not already on the agenda, to bring up any other topic? Okay, the record should show that no one was here for public comment period. All right, so the next item, we'll skip down to number 4. We have a request for a certificate of compliance, Beaver Brook Road, Alcine Lane, Town of Burlington, DEP file number 122-168. Is there anyone here for that? No.
No, there won't be anybody here. So this was a 1991 order of conditions issued to the DPW for stream cleaning. This was pre-vectoring, I believe, so it was actually equipment in the stream, and it was in the vicinity on the Ipswich River in the vicinity of Vinebrook and Alcine Lane. The actually order of conditions listed the adjacent properties, probably because they were going to access through their properties or something like that. So unfortunately, this order of conditions is recorded on the deeds of several of those properties. So I got a call from someone who wanted the order from their deeds. So Eileen did find that the commission had voted in 1993 to issue a certificate of compliance, but apparently it was never recorded. So it's basically, I guess, reissuing something that the commission already approved 30 years ago.
Larry signed it, though.
I signed it?
Yeah, 1993.
Really?
Yeah.
I've been on since then?
Did I sign?
The last surviving member who signed it.
Really? Funny.
Oh, my God.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for the Beaver Brook, Alsine Lane, Town of Burlington, DEP file number 122-168?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? 400, it's approved. Next, we have Burlington Mall Roadway by National Development, DEP file number 122-543. It's a request for a certificate of compliance. Somebody's here for that? Yes. Well, good evening.
Good evening. Eric Gerard, civil engineer with VHB.
All right, good to see you.
You too.
Is there anything you want to say before we just,
So Rick Matthews, who has been coordinating with Eileen on all the documentation, he apologizes he could not be here tonight due to another conflict. So with my involvement with the other pieces of the project, I'm going to sit in. So I can answer some questions. I don't know the full history. I know it goes back almost 10-plus, 12-plus years for some of these projects and stormwater permits. But I know Rick had sent in all the previous inspection reports and documentation that we have to date, and I believe National Development's property management has sent in their most recent records as well. So I think I think they are essentially up to date as best as they can, and it sounds like there might be some follow-on material coming in the next week, I believe, is what
Right.
National may have been saying, so.
okay, so Eileen and
I just
John,
add a
are we in a position
snippet
to
to that?
issue this certificate tonight?
I think we are, as Eric said, this is for 4 different erosion control permits, and there was also a notice of intent. And a lot of the work got done simultaneously, so I just checked with Rick today, all of the inspection reports were for sort of the project as a whole. So we do have all those inspection reports. I am pretty confident that all of the stormwater features were built as designed and as expected. We do have letters to confirm that, and we do have, some of the inspection reports did detail specifically the installation of the stormwater features. What Eric was just referring to was, that I've been getting reports from the district, and that's been a sort of a complicated process as well. So I have reports from every single catch basin, and they're expecting a cleaning one for those soon. And I have a list of all the stormwater structures, like infiltration systems and basins, but I just don't have a map to go with those. So that's the only piece is that I've just asked, can I have a diagram showing where each of those features are so that I can just coordinate it with the records? But I have no issues with anything. I think it was very complicated working through these 4 permits to figure out which was which.
All right, so let me ask you,
got it.
are these things all in item 4B? Are we
No, we're actually talking about 4B, C, D, and, no, hang on. We're talking about C, D, E, and F are all of the, you okay? The stormwater ones?
We were doing 4B first. then. I mean, that's-
You're right, and then there was 4B, no, they weren't, well, I was sort of taking them all as one, is that okay?
I don't care, I just want to be clear what you're doing.
Well, you should do each one individually. You need to vote on each one individually.
Well, okay, that's true, you do.
So 4B is a certificate of compliance for a wetland permit for an order of conditions.
Okay, and that was for the roadway,
It was actually Burlington Mall Road,
Burlington Mall Road, and
Intersection.
that entrance into it.
correct?
And where are the wetlands relative to that? Is that?
Pine Brook.
Vine Brook is the
Yeah.
thing that goes underneath there. That was the issue. Okay, so on any of these permits, is there anything that needs to be issued subject to?
No, I think we're happy with everything that has come in and the way everything was completed
Okay,
at the
but they
time.
owe you they owe you a map,
They just owe me a diagram, yeah.
and you're okay with that?
I am, I know that the inspections are being done, I just want to be able to map it to exactly where the features are.
Okay, so we don't have to issue it subject to, but
I don't think
you
so.
know these people
I don't think
fairly
so. I
well.
know that they're doing
We
it.
know them fairly well.
Right.
Okay.
But John's right, we should vote on each of the things separately, but as a whole, we're content with what we have.
All right, so I'd like to ask the commission, does anyone in the commission have any questions about any of these? Otherwise, I'll run right through them.
No problems.
All right, okay, so could I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for item 4A, which is Beaver Brook Road, Burlington Mall roadway, National Development, this is 4B, DEP file number 122-543.
So moved, Rob.
Second?
Second, Bill.
All in favor? Okay, that's 400. Approved. Next.
So on the next one, the agenda has a slight mistake. It says New England Executive Park Drive and Park Place. It's actually 24 New England Executive Park Drive, and that was for the Tuscan Kitchen. So the agenda is slightly imprecise there.
Okay. Okay. All right, could I have a motion to approve for the district, formerly known as 24 New England Executive Park Drive and Park Place, for Leap Investor Holdings LLC, Stormwater Permit 2014. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Andrew.
Second.
All in favor? 400. Could I have a motion for item 4D, which is 100 District Drive, formerly 1 New England Executive Park, for Neep Investor Holdings LLC, stormwater permit from 2011. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? 400, approved. Next, we have a request for certificate for District Avenue, formerly 1 in New England Executive Park roadway, Leap Investor Holdings LLC, stormwater permit 2014. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Oh,
Okay, all in favor? 400, approved. And finally, District Ave, formerly number 1 and number 3, New England Executive Park, Neep Investor Holdings again, LLC, for a stormwater permit for this one for 2014. Is there a motion?
so moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Same vote, 400. All right, that's the fastest we ever did that many items.
Can I just mention
Yes.
that we had a little trouble with figuring out the bonds, and there were bonds on a couple of them, but we're pretty sure that they've all expired. They would have been paper bonds, so,
Are we holding any of their money?
No.
well, they expired.
Okay, so if we find
Yeah,
any
we're
money,
not.
the commissioners can keep it.
No, we're not holding any money.
There's no money, just paper.
I'm only kidding. We could just
That
divide
went
it
a lot
up.
faster than I thought.
No, thank you very much for working with us and getting to this. It's been a long time coming, I guess.
It was complicated. A lot.
Thank you very much.
All right,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Only took us 30 years to clear this stuff up. Right? Only took us 30 years to clear this up.
The district?
Stream, no, that was the
was the
stream.
stream.
The street one, yeah,
Oh,
okay.
right.
yeah, But still. These were only 10 years.
Right, wouldn't you think they would have come up on somebody's deeds before now? Well, maybe unless the people owned the houses for 25 years, I suppose.
All right, that was quick.
It's much quicker than I thought. I
One
had too
said
much time on the
7:05,
agenda for
however.
that.
Is that important, where it's just a
Oh,
discussion?
did I run through it too fast?
No, it's okay.
It was pretty straightforward, really, once we did all the work of figuring out what was what.
See how, we're gonna finish early for the hearing.
Fine with me.
All right, we have item number 5. It's a discussion, proposed residential addition at 1 Richfield Road. Is there someone here for that one?
And I just point out, so it's not a hearing, so you could take it early. If it were a
Right.
public hearing, you'd have to wait,
I'm aware of that, right.
just for the public.
Oh, goodness. Oh, we're very,
All right, so please introduce yourselves and who you're affiliated with or where you live. And then the way it works is you can start the discussion and then what you're proposing, and then we can have a discussion.
Sure, I appreciate it, thank you. So my name is Dan Collins. I'm the owner of 1 Richfield Road, along with my wife, and I live there with my 2 kids. This is Marcus Pinney. He's a wetlands expert that I've hired to help advise me on this, because I think you'll see, and I apologize for not getting these ahead of time, but this is a handout that I would have provided in advance if
Sure.
I had them ready to go.
That's
But
great.
I think you'll see that we have a bit of a unique scenario on my property with the wetlands. Almost my entire property is within the 40-foot water setback. And our house is unfortunately needing some additions to, for our growing family, essentially, to put it bluntly. We have a smaller than the minimum lot, and on the four sides of the rectangle-shaped lot, we have water. They're man-made drainage, and so two of the four have the man-made drainage that come from the street. And so a good portion of our house is actually within the 40-foot already. And so in order to do any sort of additions onto our house, I found it very difficult to find the best way to do that. So that's part of why I had Marcus come aboard, so I could try to figure out what makes the most sense. And so what you'll see on the very top page of your packet is the most recent survey. And then on page 2 would be basically a zoomed-in version of that survey so that I could draw on top of it to show you what the setbacks would be for both the zoning and the water setbacks. The green lines would indicate the 40-foot setback, and then the yellow would be the zoning setbacks. If you go on to then the next page, page 3, that would be what I'm thinking is the best way for me to get what I'm looking for in an addition on the house, and also take proper care of the waterways. So Marcus helped me out with advice, and then he also took those photographs on the last 2 pages.
Okay. So one question before we get started. Are you expanding the footprint of the existing house?
It would be expanding the footprint of the existing house, but I think the benefit to the plan that I'm putting in front of you is that it's still actually a net gain of impervious surface.
Of pervious.
I'm
sorry, of pervious, gain of pervious, of natural.
Yes, I'm sorry, a gain of pervious surface. And the reason for that is we have a driveway that, once we have the 2-car garage, we can get rid of half of that driveway because we won't need it anymore. And that driveway is the closest, it's right on the right-hand side of the building. It's not marked on the survey, but you can see it in the photographs.
Yeah, it's in the, if I can interject, Dan, if you look at the first page of the photos, you can see the driveway apron that's close to the drainage ditch to the right in that picture. And if you refer to the preferred, you can see that that will be removed, and we'll have some net increase of natural area. I've talked to Dan about doing some plantings along that edge as well.
The entrance to the new garage plan would be from the front?
Yeah,
Not from
and
the
so,
side?
no, so there's no room on the sides, as you'll see in the surveys there. There's no room to go on the sides because of the zoning setbacks. There's no room to really go back on the full side of the house unless we're going within the 40-foot. And then, in doing so, we would have to still drive around the back of the house, which would be adding to the driveway that's already big. And so really, the only way to do a 2-car garage would be to build forward a little bit. Now, I'm gonna have to go to the building department as well in order to get the variance, just a bit beyond that zoning, but one step at a time, I suppose. So that's why I'm here, to hopefully get some feedback from you as to whether or not this plan makes sense. We've been going back and forth, Marcus and I, for a couple years now, trying to
Is that just building department?
find, yeah, off and on, but trying to find the best solution for the problem.
So it seems that the wetlands all around you have complicated your life a bit.
A bit, that's to say it lightly, for
So
sure.
let's go to staff and see what they say about the resources in the area. John or Eileen?
So, well, as far as well, let me step back. So the purpose of this discussion is, we talked to the applicant, and, he wanted to get some sort of idea of the feasibility of this, rather than filing a notice of intent and potentially getting a denial and going through all that process. So this is just an informal precursor to a filing, just to get your thoughts on whether or not this is something that could be approved under an order of conditions. The resource area, there's a wetland in the back, the stream on the side. You've seen this property before because there was some wetland filling and restoration 2 years ago, maybe, I think.
It's been a few years. Yeah.
So, and the wetlands are flagged, the restored wetlands are flagged, and it would be shown on the plan.
Okay, is any of this a name stream that Riverfront is
It's-
involved?
No, it's not a jurisdictional, regular, no.
It's
So it's-
flowed from,
It's what?
the drainage system that was installed when the subdivision was built. They formalized, there were obviously wet areas there before, but they formalized that channel. And you can see the spoils pile that it's literally a straight shot from the catch basin at the end of the subdivision road, which if you look at the top right picture on the first picture page, there's a orange cone, and that's at the catch basin. And that is the source of the flow that's in the drainage way.
There-
There's another source that comes from another point in the channel.
That one comes from the street nearby, and there's a piping that comes from the drainage basin underneath.
Stanwood?
Stanwood, yep.
Yeah.
Comes underneath my neighbor's property and then dumps out into my backyard.
Okay, so what I'd like to do from here is ask a couple of clarifying questions for the commission's benefit. So, because what we're talking about is the 40-foot no-build zone, and we want it to be clear exactly where the additional building is going.
Yep.
So the question is, are you enhancing the project with additional building into the 40-foot no-build zone farther away from the wetlands?
Making sure I understand your question.
It looks like it's in front of the building.
Yeah, so the house is parallel to the street, but it's slightly tilted towards the wetlands on the side. And so in order to go forward at all, we would have to go slightly closer to the wetlands by probably a couple feet.
But the addition to the existing house seems to be in front, is that?
In the back.
And the back,
Oh, and
Yeah.
there is in back too.
yeah, right.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
preferred layout is that orange.
Yeah, but that would,
Brown one.
the one in the back, you can see, it takes mostly the footprint of the deck that's already there. And the purpose of that would be to just give us a little extra living space. And that is not within the 40-foot,
So there's a deck there now and you'd like to build over it?
essentially, yeah,
Yeah, got it.
yeah.
And to
Existing.
clarify up front, the addition where the house will project a bit closer, it's being extended over an existing paved driveway.
Right.
And the driveway that will be removed would actually mean that there's actually a little bit more setback to pervious, extending pervious toward the building.
All right.
Once the driveway is removed, that's clear.
Right, and that's kind of what we were saying at the beginning, is that it's actually still a net gain, and even though we're coming a little closer with the building to the water, we're actually taking
Paved.
impervious
Impervious
surface
surface
away
away from it.
from the water.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, that's very helpful. All right, so, John and Eileen, do you have anything further you want to add? And let me ask you, before you comment, is this, is the question we're answering is whether we would approve for a project like this, a waiver of, that we would consider a waiver of the 40-foot no-build zone? Is that what we're, part of the discussion here? Because without the waiver, the project is a no-go.
Right. Yeah, so you'd need a waiver because it would become, there'd be additional work in the 40-foot no-build, and it would be probably a little slightly closer than the existing building to the wetland.
This is all-
But, I mean, I don't think you need to make a commitment whether or not you'd vote it. It's just, is this something that is feasible? I mean, you only have 4 members here out of the commission. Is it something that you would advise the applicant to go forward with, or would
This
you
is
just?
like a sense of the commission. so to
Yeah,
speak.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I just want to make sure what the question we're trying to answer.
What I was finding is that I would go to some of the contractors, like the surveyor and the building designer, and all, they were looking for specifics, and I really didn't want to give them specifics because I didn't know what the Conservation Committee would even consider.
Right.
And so rather than spending the thousands or even tens of thousands before I get a no.
Sure.
I wanted to kind of get an idea if it's even a
Yeah,
worthwhile.
this is a much more
solution.
efficient way of you going forward.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So any feedback on the design itself, I'm open to listening, but really, at the end of the day, Marcus and I had gone through a bunch of different ideas, verbally and in writing, and I think this comes to the best one.
Okay. Let's see what people's questions are.
Sure.
Then we can see where the interactive discussion if we have. to.
Thank you.
Certainly. Indra, do you have anything you'd like to say?
How much area will be within the 40 feet no-build zone?
How much area would be within the 40-foot? So we're talking about, I'm going to guess, maybe 60% of the add-on garage. So we're not actually adding on a full garage. We're taking over some of the space that's already in the house to include that garage. So really just adding on a little bit forward in order to accommodate the dimensions of a garage. So we would lose one of the rooms in the house, for example, in order to do that. So we're going forward by, give or take, about 10 or 11 feet. And 10 or 11 feet forward only for about 15 feet wide, give or take. So
Over existing driveway.
over the driveway that's already existing.
Well, let's frame the question a little bit different, Indra. Indra, are you asking how many square feet are in the 40-foot no-build before, and how many in the
Correct.
proposed? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
How many square
Okay.
feet?
Yes.
I can give you a total over the whole project. We're essentially looking at giving back a little bit more than 600 to 650 square feet. And then we're going to be adding on somewhere between 400 and 500 square feet.
650 square feet of impervious back to pervious.
Correct.
Of driveway
And-
mostly?
Yes.
It's the other way around.
Oh,
It's,
I'm
the
getting
other
them
way
mixed
around.
up again. So we would be impervious, meaning water can't flow through it. I just have to say that out loud so I commit to memory. So we would be building somewhere around 400 to 500 square feet of impervious surface.
okay.
And we would be giving back driveway that's equal to about 600 square feet, to 650 square
That's
feet.
helpful.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's helpful. Anything else right now?
No.
Bill?
First impression is I think it is doable.
Okay.
The amount that you're actually closer to the wetland than the existing building is really quite small.
Yeah,
So, the waiver would, I think, be able to be considered.
okay.
And a couple of questions. One is the back deck, is it currently on a foundation, or is it on pillars, or?
It's on pillars with concrete footings, and it's crushed stone underneath it.
And what would the final new construction be in that area?
That area would be a roof and a
Would it have a
building.
foundation? It would be-
Yes.
You got a foundation there, so you'd be,
Yes.
okay.
We would still keep,
That's outside the 40-foot.
Right.
that's outside the 40-foot, and we would still, part of that would still be decking, which we could leave crushed stone underneath if that's what the committee thinks is best. But
Okay.
a good chunk of the deck would now be house with a foundation, yes.
The One thing we would like to see considered is some sort of improvement in how the stormwater runoff is handled. The rooftop runoff, the driveway into a stone trench or something like that would also be an improvement from what's existing now. Probably sheet flows right into the stream. Right now, we're into the street, one or the other, I would think.
It goes into the street, yeah.
Yeah, so if we could crown a driveway or something, we'd like to see that, where it goes into a stone trench and gives it some filtration
Sure.
as part of an improvement as well.
Yeah, and Marcus would be good for that.
In terms of the existing lawn, does it go past, I mean, does it, what is mowed? Is the actual BVW being mowed now, or the 20-foot no disturb? Or-
No, so there's, you can see kind of like the L-shaped 40-foot buffer zone there. To the far right, where you see those red arrows and it's labeled approximate BVW, that's the part that's untouched. And my property goes well past what's actually in the image.
So, because we have a 20-foot no disturb, in theory, around that BVW. So, I mean, we would be, is that currently mowed now, like halfway between those two green lines? Is that being mowed?
Well, I have a play set for my kids in the back that's probably about, I hadn't measured it, but it's probably about 20 feet from that line.
Okay.
And on the side, that would probably be within 20 feet.
I mean, ideally, and this is a very confined and challenging lot
Right.
that you have there.
Right.
Ideally, we would like to see the 20-foot not disturbed, the 20-foot no disturb, meaning revert back to normal and let it grow naturally. If it's already mowed, we might be able to compromise in some fashion and deal with protecting as much as we can and give you as much as
Right.
we can get away with. The other question I had is on the actual plot plan, the first page. There's a shed in the very back corner. Is that yours?
Yeah, that's been there since the house was built in the 60s.
You're talking about the one that straddles the property line? in the
Yes,
back corner?
yes.
That-
Oh, that, well,
Sorry.
that's a whole other
Yeah.
ball of wax. If you'd like me to get into it, I'm happy to, but it might be a long story. The previous owner of my rear neighbor, prior to me owning the house, had filled in the wetlands on his side of the property of the wetlands and built into what's now my property and built a shed over it. And we only just discovered it when I did this survey.
And that fence that is shown, is that
That
Existing?
fence is, yeah, it's existing and it's his fence. I've asked
on your
him,
property also?
I've asked him to remove it. It hasn't been removed yet.
So the shade is your neighbor's, not yours?
It is not mine, though.
Well, yeah,
But on
there
his
are two
property.
sheds.
There is another shed.
The other
You can
shed,
see the one that's labeled with an S on it. That one is mine. But the one all the way in the
That's the one
back.
that's on the screen right now. That's his shed.
Yeah, the one, oh, you got that one set up?
Well, I had a few just from being in, and this is just the replication area where there had been some filling and Marcus helped him and they replicated some wetland back there and then there is lawn on this side. So the replication area was lovely when we last saw it.
Good.
Thank you.
It's very nice. Yeah.
We did a lot of plantings right along the edge of it to make sure it's been protected, and we don't even walk back there. We just kind of let it be. I did take down a couple dead trees with permission, and I just left the trees back
Okay.
there, and, yeah.
Well, you've answered my questions, and I think I would be willing to consider an application, so, and I appreciate you doing it in this fashion to prevent not only you from going through the process, but us from going through the process and something that maybe couldn't be approved, so this is good.
Yeah, I appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, Rob?
I guess, do you have a sump pump?
No,
Or is the basement, is it on a slab or is it,
it's a split raised ranch, and so it's kind of, I don't know what it's called, because I'm not a construction expert, but it's like the half foundation. And so it is a slab with kind of a half wall. We haven't had any issues with getting water in the house, if that's what you're asking.
yeah? Yeah, I mean, it does seem, I mean, for me, it seems like, with you seem to have a lot of like care and concern for the wetland on your property, and I think as long as, you know,
Groundwater
sort of
separation
the
threshold, like that.
plan and construction is sort of goes along with preserving and.
Sure.
And that, it seems like it's, yeah, I can see from the angle of your house and the property, it's, you know, there's some hardships there to deal with.
It's a very small, workable space, unfortunately, and so in order to
Would be okay, 'cause
to get the most out of the house, I think this is a good solution, so long as, like you said, we take care of the wetlands, and we would take precautions certainly during the construction phase too. And Marcus has been great with his advice throughout the process so far.
Okay? All set? All right.
I don't know if you heard it all, but Ed is online now.
Hi, Ed.
Guys, sorry.
All right, Ed, we are on a discussion item 5 on the agenda. It's a discussion of a proposed residential addition at 1 Richfield Road. I don't know how much of it you heard.
I did. I listened to it all.
Okay, so do you have any comments? Because this would come back to us as a notice of intent, probably.
Right, right. This is, it's, a real small space, so, no, I don't really have anything to add to it.
All right. Okay, so I'll make a couple of comments. I think you've done as good, this is a tight site. You've done about as good as, I mean, I don't see a major alternative that you clearly missed. The expansion in the back of putting a room over the deck is outside the 40-foot, so that's not too much of an issue for us. I like the fact that you're giving back some of the converting impervious driveway to pervious surface. And that's almost, it's almost like a quid pro quo. It's always somewhat in exchange for putting the house in. So this makes minimal, less impervious impact than otherwise would be because you're giving some back. I also agree with Bill that I would consider perhaps asking you if you would restore some amount of the 20 feet, but maybe it doesn't amount to all of the 20 feet because we don't want to leave you without a decent yard.
Right.
And it might be the way the wetland line flows in a curve, we might want to do something narrower at one end and a little bit wider at the other as you go across.
Could I offer a suggestion? That corner there where my shed, not my neighbor's shed, but the one that's marked with the S, that shed's pretty dilapidated at this point anyway. And I'd be willing to just remove the shed, and I could restore kind of that corner a bit, and that would be part of the lot that.
Part of the restoration of the no
Right, I
disturb
could,
zone.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah, I think that would be.
That would be essentially unused lot space that we would not need to use or feel the need to use, because the playset is on the other side towards the top of the property, and so I think a 20-foot would squeeze the kids' ability to use the yard.
I also think that you filing a notice of intent with a request for a waiver, which is what this would require, citing some of the things that have been discussed here, essentially feed it back to us, so to speak, I think would be a valid argument for a reasonable request.
Okay.
So I don't know if we need a vote, because we could vote here, but it's not, it's just a discussion. But I think I've sensed from the 5 people here that this plan is doable. It's a reasonable request to ask for the waiver. You've probably heard most of what we would be asking for when you file, if not all.
Okay.
So you know what to expect.
Sure.
So I think the sense of the commission is you should move forward.
All right, well, I appreciate your feedback. I suppose if I have any other questions, I'll reach out to John or
Sure.
Eileen, but
Absolutely.
thank you. I appreciate the time.
Dan, are you on town meeting?
I am.
I thought I've met you before. I knew
Yes.
I had met you before. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I have one of those faces, I guess.
Yeah, I guess one of those faces. I said, I wonder if this is the same Dan Collins.
Yeah, no, that's me. That's me. I was elected last year, I think.
Yeah, pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, you as well.
All right, so good luck with moving forward with this, and we'll see you probably at a subsequent meeting.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you for coming in.
thanks very much.
Good to see you.
Just check with the building department. You might have to go to the Board of Appeals though, with the setback.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Check with them first, because that'll be another whole hurdle.
It will be.
Are you suggesting we do the zoning board first before the commission?
What way do they normally do it?
What is it, a side yard setback?
No, I think
Front
everything was
yard.
the front
Front
yard
yard
setback
setback.
for here, because they want to bring it forward
Yeah.
into the.
We'd be going into the front yard setback by about up to 10 feet at the most, really more like 5 or 6, depending on, I'm not an architect. But the benefit, and I know this isn't necessarily your purview, but the front of our house actually has extra space because of the curve of the road. So in that spot, the setback wouldn't be as obviously close to the street.
Sequentially, though, is that, would you prefer?
That was
we
just a
do the
question.
zoning board
I don't
first?
have a preference. I'm just saying, just be aware it might be Board of Appeals rather than just the building department. But as in terms of sequential, do you have a?
I mean, I think it would make sense to go to the Board of Appeals first, because I think, I get the sense that the Conservation Commission could approve this project.
Is amenable, yeah.
You know, with conditions, but I have no idea about the Board
Yeah.
of Appeals. So, I mean, why go through our process only to be rejected at the Board
Although,
of
would it be
Appeals?
stronger for him with the Board of Appeals if he had an
Well,
approved?
he's already been to the Conservation Commission. He can say that you've gone informally.
was
to-
Positive feedback,
Yeah,
yeah.
you could,
I
yeah,
mean,
you can-
if you think it's helpful, our staff could write a note to summarize the discussion that we had to the Board of Appeals.
Would this be reflected in the minutes, this discussion?
Yes.
yes,
So
I'm
that
not
would-
sure how detailed, but we can,
Yeah.
yeah, come back to us though, but I was just letting you know, it was, oh, actually, do you remember the Board of Appeals is right back there, maybe you can ask him.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Okay, next we have a continuation of a request for a determination of applicability. This is 10 Marjorie Road by Sean Damaso. He
Does
would
he
like
get a
to
link?
cut some trees at the rear of his property, and there are some wetlands there. It's a meeting that was continued from May 11, 2023. Okay, is Mr. Damaso here, by any chance?
It's online. All you gotta do is go to the agenda. I don't know.
He wasn't going to be here. He was asking C.J. Martell, whom we met yesterday, to represent him.
That's all right, we can do it without him.
Okay.
I think we were pretty clear on what was going on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the commission did a site walk, went through tree by tree. I think the commission's sense was that there were 3 trees that they thought should be saved. There was one white pine, large white pine at the very rear of the lot, right back against, well, not the lot, but against the fence. There was a smaller white pine on the right-hand side, and there was a red maple. So all the other trees were either damaged or
Leaning.
or there was also a Norway maple, which is an invasive species.
Right, right. The only question is how much mitigation we're gonna ask for, isn't that the
Yeah.
question?
So we have a draft decision for tonight. We've recommended, I think, 8 trees.
I think that's what we put in.
I think they're proposing, we're not really sure of the exact, we didn't count the trees, and it depends upon,
Yeah, I should have counted exact trees yesterday,
Yeah.
but it was certainly around 10. Did anybody else know?
include the smaller ones.
Bill, did you happen to count exactly how many we were talking about? It
All right.
was,
About 15 was in the original proposal.
right, but then we were having them save 3. Oh, so maybe it was 12.
I think it was down to 10 and what you said, wasn't it?
I know, but that was sort of me with a question mark. We can put, 12 might have been more correct.
I mean, the exact
I could
number
go back
doesn't
out.
matter. I mean, if we're proposing eight new trees.
And to save the 3 specific ones.
Right.
Right,
Right, we're proposing the 3 be saved.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's go over it should be noted, I don't think there's anyone in the audience for this 10 Marjorie Road. So why don't we go over the draft?
Okay, let me open it.
Larry, do you want to recognize me as part of the meeting?
No. Yeah, the record should show that Ed Laturco has joined the meeting. I was only kidding, Ed.
No, I know, we didn't have a quorum, so that's good too.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, not sure if this is big enough for people to see. Let me make it a little bigger. Okay, so the applicant proposed to cut, initially, we did say 15 trees at 10 Marjorie Road, some in the bordered vegetated wetlands, the rest in buffer zone. The wetlands had been flagged and surveyed onto a plan for previous filing, but the flags are no longer present. The house was allowed to be 80 feet from the wetland. The closest trees to be cut are in the wetland. 2 of the trees in the wetland were leaning, one of which had damaged a third as it leaned on it. Others in the buffer were leaning or were invasive Norway maples. So we're suggesting that you allow this conditional negative determination for the project as outlined. Applicants may proceed with, I will make it 12, just to, or I'll say something
Why
like,
don't you just say tree removal except for,
with, okay, exactly, okay, tree removals, then the small pine at the far right, the largest pine closest to the rear fence, and the red maple may not be cut. Removal of any other trees will require additional approval from the conservation administrator, and may require submission of a written assessment by a certified arborist that they pose a hazard or are in decline. For tree trimming or removals that are not feasible to do by hand, machinery would be located in the driveway or existing lawn areas per the reference plan, which they did show that in their plan. Trees within the wetlands shall be cut so that a snag remains. The stumps of trees shall not be removed without selective approval from the commission or administrator. And 8 native trees shall be planted as partial mitigation. Trees shall be non-cultivars. And John very conveniently added in some suggestions. Preferred species, red oak, white oak, red maple, sugar maple. Other native trees may be selected with Conservation Department approval. And then the last ones are the standard ones about no dumping, no fertilizer, and we may inspect just to see what's happening.
anyone on the commission want to discuss any of it or add anything?
Just the number 2 there, I think we should be somewhat specific, say may proceed with the tree removals as discussed or something, because you just want to give them blanket tree
As
removals.
described above? Is that enough, as described above?
What does it say above?
What does it say above? Yeah.
What does it say above? That's a good question.
Doesn't-
Here it says.
Okay, you want to make it more specific?
It says 10 here. We have a little issue on the findings, it says 15. Oh, they proposed 15, okay, they did propose 15.
They proposed 15 initially, and you are allowing them to remove all but 3.
That's right.
So just stick with 12.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Okay,
All right, anything else? Anyone? Could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project at 10 Marjorie Road under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and State Wetlands Protection Act?
3 minutes just.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Since Ed's online, we'll do it by roll call. Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes by a vote of 5-0-0. This project is approved with a negative conditional determination for 10 Marjorie Road. Okay, so we're all set on that. Next is a continued public hearing.
So we can't really start that one yet.
3 minutes.
It says 7:24 up above.
It's 7:22 by Windows time. And Apple time, too.
Do a couple of administrative
Yeah, do we
things.
have something to do that isn't the Mountain Road?
Administrative.
Do we have anything to tell them?
We can all just go out for coffee.
Talk about the upcoming meetings. Anybody have any meetings they're gonna miss or anything like that?
Nope.
Okay,
Date of June 22nd. Let me just take a look.
here's,
So those are the last two meetings before we start the summer schedule. June 8, June 22.
I'm likely to be online for the next one, just to let you know, because I'm just coming back from vacation that day.
you'd like who to be online? You're
I'm
on-
likely to be online for the next one.
For which one, June 8th?
Yep. No, not June 8th. Not the next one,
June
the second
22,
next one,
yeah,
June 20-something.
22. June 22.
Going anyplace good?
Ireland?
That's good.
Oh, have you ever been there?
Nope, never. First time.
I don't think that's true, is it? I think she's joshing with me. Okay. You have relatives over there?
I do, yeah. Both my husband's family and I are, he's Irish too.
Is he? Everyone I know who's gone to Ireland thinks it's absolutely fantastic. That's what I hear. All right, so what are we now? Are we on time?
Sure.
One
Yeah,
more
you're good.
minute?
I think it's a fraction of a
Don't
minute.
think
You can go.
anybody's going to,
All right, I can go. We have a continued public hearing, notice of intent. 78 Mountain Road, requested by Ken Gillis. It's to construct a new residential dwelling, and it's DEP file number 122-687.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
Joe Currier and Kenny Gillis. How you doing? Here,
All right.
I believe we had a laundry list of items to gather up, and I
And
believe...
you submitted some things.
I
Do you
believe-
want to say anything further, or should we just go through our?
Let's go through it. I believe we submitted everything, and like I said, I'm not an engineer, so a lot of it was calculations that, you know,
Okay.
that Eileen was bothered about, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Eileen's fault, okay.
Yep.
All right, Eileen and John, we got a planting plan, revised planting plan, we got calculations, we got an alternative analysis.
We did. We got all of those things. The stormwater, the calcs, there was a piece missing, and their engineer, whose name I've just forgotten, but he called me. He called me as well and just clarified that some things that weren't clear to me. He had actually had to use a substitute because the type of great big cylinders, dry wells that they want to use aren't available in HydroCAD, so he just used an alternative. So, you know, once he had explained those, it made sense, and I think that the stormwater calcs now make sense to me, and they're fine. They did produce a landscaping plan, a planting plan, yes, which covers, sorry, what? I'm not sharing? No.
I am.
Oh, you're sharing. Why are you sharing?
I'll self-share.
Oh, do you want to share?
No.
Sorry, I think I thought I was sharing, but I'm not. Let me just,
I think they're fighting about sharing.
Like nice children.
we're not very good at sharing. So yes, Leah produced a planting plan which largely excludes the easement, or at least with taller trees. It has to, taller trees cannot be in the easement, so that's fine. She's put shrubs in there. And she also produced an alternatives analysis. However, one thing that John had raised with them, which we had all raised with them, we had all, I think, maybe discussed previously, was the fact that this is a residential site, and the back portion of the site is it has an industrial use. So it's, that back portion of the site is degraded right now. They didn't produce a planting plan that was going to mitigate any of that back area. And In addition, they also said that they were limiting their scope to less than 5,000 square feet. However, they've removed all of the trees on the lot already, so they've basically touched almost every single part of the lot. So it's not really true that they're not, that they're limiting their disturbance to only 5,000 square feet. So I would still like to see some more restoration of the back of the lot.
And what are you saying is the significance
now John's
of
sharing.
above and below 5,000?
That is the, John, give me the right words for that. That is the limit, the 5,000 degradation in riverfront. That's, it's the limit for the
I'm
riverfront.
not sure what you're saying.
So the performance standard for building in the riverfront area is 5% or 10% of the lot, whichever is greater. So you can alter up to 5,000 square
5,000,
foot of a lot in the riverfront area.
Okay. And
Right.
so because of all the cutting that was done, the alteration is greater.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So this is over the performance standard.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, and the consequence of that is,
Well, you'd want them to restore everything up to the 5,000.
I see.
So, so on the screen, you can see what the rear of the lot looks like. The rear of the lot, so it's the left-hand lot in green. So the back, maybe 20% of it is totally devoid of vegetation. It's just a gravel parking lot, essentially. And that's all in the riverfront area. And it's part of this lot. So that's a perfect place to do some restoration of riverfront.
And could you blow that up
Can you zoom
on
in?
the screen?
It's zoomed in as much as I can. Zoomed in all the way.
4832-1.
Is there another one?
Let me put it on GIS.
Development is all the
I'll
way
be able to
back
zoom in more.
on the other side of the
So
downhill.
The development is right here.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So, you touched something.
Did I touch it?
I don't know.
What's the lot number,
Oh, you took it off,
4832-1?
I mean? You
Sorry,
took it
what?
off. We were just looking at it and
No,
discussing.
John just turned it off. I'm going to pull up another one, 4832-1, right? That's the lot number? Oh, come on.
4832-1.
Yeah, it's taking a long time to load the options.
The picture you had was fine.
Okay.
I can zoom in more in the GIS. I'll share that in just a sec. Okay.
Thought I did something.
It's actually not a touchscreen, so you can't do it.
Come on.
Okay, here. Rob came up with it. Okay.
It's a little bit, I think, skewed, like, angled.
Right, right.
I think the other side is.
Yep.
It's good, just taking ages to load up the layers, the property line.
I think we talked about that space in the last meeting.
Correct. He's actually using it for commercial purposes on the other end.
Okay.
When it's not zoned for
So-
that in the whole lot.
So you're whispering.
One at a time, yeah.
Okay, so, I guess what's being recommended by our staff is that the performance standard was over 5,000, and as far as disturbance goes, and how much, what is the area of the restoration they have so far that is being proposed?
I don't think we've been given a number, have we? Was it in Leah's report?
I don't think so. I mean, she was proposing, oh, it's finally loading up. You can see better now on the, on my thing.
Way back in this corner.
I don't think they're waiting. Do you want me to open up what Leah sent?
This isn't zoned for first.
I don't think we got,
It's still within the 100
exact
foot, and
numbers.
this is completely, this section is like completely
Yeah.
denuded
Finding it.
of anything. And it's within that
maybe
riverfront
under the
area,
alternatives?
so we could restore something in there to compensate for the trees they've cut up in here. And and the power lines come
Yeah.
through here somehow.
Because that was always denuded, wasn't it?
Down there?
You mean,
Yeah.
you mean it looks a little different?
Because of the adjacent,
It does look different.
even though not zoned for.
All right, so essentially, what I understand, Eileen, we're talking about is asking for some additional restoration in the back of the lot, which is zoned residential, but is being used for commercial, part of it.
That's what we're suggesting.
Right.
And
I mean, the
that-
zoning is really irrelevant, it's just sort of, I mean, it's the lot.
Right, and it's to exchange the fact that trees and stuff were cut for the purposes of putting in the house. And so we're asking for some restoration in an area that was already denuded, was already bare, to restore something in there as compensation, is what you're essentially saying.
I have Leah's report here, it says we have less than 5,000 square feet.
But what I said was that you took out all the trees across the lot, so that's way more than 5,000. The building envelope is 5,000, but you already took out the trees.
You've already disturbed the part where all the trees were.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
So,
the trees were mostly in the building envelope, not in the easement.
they were where? Again?
Well, they
A
weren't under,
little
the-
over 90% of the trees were in the building envelope, not in the easement, because there can't be any tree,
Right.
Eversource cut all the trees in the easement, so there was.
there weren't any trees in the easement, in
Yeah.
the power line easement, true.
So,
So none of the trees were beyond that easement, so if, that's not even a quarter of the lot.
Well, I guess the question is, what is the size of the parcel that's off of the easement that you are gonna develop? What is the size of that piece of the parcel? Because that entire thing has been disturbed.
Correct. And it's way less than half. I'm going by what Leah's
Is that
report
more-
is. She's got it all right here. How'd she come up
well,
with
the
her
entire
numbers?
lot is 20,130 square feet, but part of that is easement.
Yes, and part of that is in the lower part, which hasn't been disturbed by this process.
Right.
So what I'm looking at, to go back to this, the picture of the lot there, what I'm saying is your easement comes through here, so just this section, what is the area of this disturbed section? That's what Eileen is saying is actually disturbed. Is
And-
that 5,000 square feet? It probably is. It's probably like 10,000.
Yeah, well, it's 20,000 square feet. I mean, if you had to rough it, it's like 40%, 60% of the lot has been disturbed.
Is it just stop there, or does it actually go further down? I think it might stop there.
So 60% would be, it's a little more, I mean, half would be probably right here,
It's hard to say.
but, I mean, roughly.
Yeah, but I'm not sure this is, what I'm wondering is that, where is the easement on this?
You wanna view the larger plan I have right here?
Yeah, I'd like to see the actual drawing for the easement, and, because we're seeing bits and pieces and not able to put them together easily.
I think this is one of the lines. This is one of the.
For anybody who's interested, this is how treed the entire lot was a couple of years ago.
This is helpful.
All right, so it's a 300 wide easement.
Right.
Yes. So we're there. Can't remember whether there was trees in here or not.
Well, he has no control over the planting in that. He can't plant anything in there anyways, because it's prohibited by Eversource or
Well, you
whoever has the
you
easement.
can plant, you just can't plant trees.
Can't plant trees, correct.
I mean,
correct.
that area is cleared of all vegetation. It's not just trees. There's no understory or
Everything's gone.
anything in there.
And there was a lot of vegetation there a couple of years ago.
Okay, so it's not cleared by Eversource, but cleared by this developer, okay, okay. And they are planting, in the planting plan, we saw some vegetation going back in that area.
There was,
Just wasn't
there
trees.
definitely is, yes.
I think he's saying in here there wasn't any trees, is what he's saying.
Trees, yes, but there was a lot of vegetation, is what they're saying, underneath the power lines. So there's more disturbed than just this piece. That
Yes.
Some of this was cleared of whatever was there,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 144, 46, 48. So you're talking 149 is like a 5-foot drop in here. Probably wasn't too much there. It's hard to know.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's be clear. What our staff is recommending is there should be some additional restoration in the easement to help compensate for the total removal of trees on the lot. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So you're asking for more. So if, and it looks, pretty hilly in here. So is there a preferred spot where you're looking for additional, let's give this gentleman as much clarity as possible so we can finish this off for him. Is there a preferred spot that you're looking for it to be planted, or are you gonna let them decide that?
There's an entire flat area in the back. It's not hilly. It's over the hill. There's a flat area, which is basically a gravel parking lot.
That's like down in here.
All right.
Right at the edge
And
of
if you
property.
plant in there, Eversource will not cut it, the shrubs?
They won't cut the shrubs.
Okay. So that's the request. All right. So, it seems like we're asking for a revised planting plan. Is that correct?
I would say that is correct.
Yes.
Okay. So,
We'll switch back to the planting plan.
are we looking for a revised planting plan or a commitment to plant X numbers of shrubs beyond the red line here? And then to be cited by staff?
It could be that, I suppose.
Is there a certain square
Well-
footage we're looking for? I know you said,
Yeah, Larry's just asking for clarity. Are we saying, would we be okay with them just specifying a number of shrubs that go back there? Or do we
Are
want
we okay
more
if we say
more
a number of
specificity?
additional shrubs? Or is it better to have them redo the plan?
Redo the plan.
Redo the plan. Okay. All right, so the commission needs to decide if you're going to go along with the recommendations of staff. And is there anything else that we need from these folks?
I had a couple of questions on the infiltration beds, again. Just looking at you put in a narrative to the function of the infiltration beds, and it's still not clear to me because it's the infiltration bed 1, I'll wait for you to find it if you get it in front of you, but infiltration bed 1 says, subcatchment 4S includes the front half of the dwelling and a portion of the yard west of all the dwelling, and then infiltration bed 2 says 3S includes the exact same thing, the front half of the dwelling and the portion of the yard west of the dwelling. I suspect that one of them is supposed to include the other half of the dwelling.
I think, I think that wasn't written very well. I assumed it was the way it was originally written, or maybe I just took it from the diagrams, but you're right, that it was taking part of one and the other part was taking the other.
The way it's worded, both of them are taking from the
Yes.
same part of the building.
It does.
So that needs to be clarified. And then you mentioned in your calculations that there was no available software and input for the 3 1,000-gallon dry wells, so you substituted a 4x4x3 chamber of some sort to simulate the calculation? Is that what I read?
Yes, they did.
And my question is, 4x4x3 is 48 cubic feet, it's like 359 gallons. How is that a simulation of 1,000-gallon dry well?
That is a good question. I know that the engineer told me that he reckoned it was approximately the same. How many chambers was he saying, though? Wasn't he saying, what was the number, 16 or something? How many did he say? Let me open it up.
1,000 gallon drum wells.
No,
Right.
I know,
Right.
but for the calcs, he couldn't use that. He had to use a substitution.
Yeah, and I just was wondering how that came about, or was there a number of those 4x4x3 units? Or is the dry well actually full of stone, so it only holds the equivalent volume of that?
I'm looking for the number of the units that he said, because it seemed to generally make somewhat
It
sense
makes
to me
sense.
when
I may
I
have
spoke to him.
I may have missed, I thought it was one unit of that size, so maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, where is it gone now? Okay. He was saying, that's where, we're not even there. Post-development,
Where was that? That was the initial narrative, I think.
yeah, I think it was. I'm just looking for the thing with the chambers. Oh, here we go, here we go.
Here we go.
He had said 16 chambers.
Let me see here.
So does that make more sense now?
If there were 16 of those, yes, that would make a lot more sense.
Right.
I
He
missed
was,
that
I think
in
he was
my
trying to
reading.
balance the numbers, and without looking at every single line, what he said made sense.
Yep.
Yeah, it was gonna be 16.
Okay, so that's the equivalent. No, you're not talking about the front chamber.
2 of the beds are going to be the big, wide, 1,000-gallon ones.
Right.
And
Which he simulated in the calculations.
yes,
And you're saying he simulated with 16 of these
He-
chambers?
he
Okay,
did,
okay,
yes.
Fine, thank you.
All right, are you
I
all
am,
set?
I am happy.
Indra, anything else? Rob, anything else? Nope. Ed, anything? All right, so the only question I had is on the planting plan, I noticed that on the 100-foot line from the stream, from Little's Brook, they're planting arborvitae. Should that be native species at the 100-foot line?
It would be preferable.
Yeah, I think we always ask, everyone else we ask, we discourage arborvitae because they're not a native species. And 100 foot from the wetlands line, at the inner, probably still in the inner riparian zone, we should have native species. Would you agree?
Yes.
All right, so you can plant red oak, red maple, right, those kind of things?
Red cedar.
Red cedar?
Red cedar might be more equivalent to the coverage of an arborvitae being
Red cedar?
an evergreen.
Yeah. Okay, so
So you're saying the arborvitae's aren't native no matter what you get?
unfortunately, they're not.
Okay.
And, the commission always asks, I mean, there's no reason why we would treat you any different. We always ask for native species. Right, so it seems to me, the 2 action items, see if there's anything else.
Yeah, the arborvitae's come up at the very first meeting when the neighbor was here, and that was the screening for the neighbor, that's why the arborvitae's.
Well, what other native provides similar screening?
Red cedar.
Red cedar.
Right.
Eastern red cedar junipers.
Yeah.
She's got,
I think he's,
so we made that 12.
then that would work. Yeah,
Okay, so that's number 1. And the other one is some additional planting to compensate that you're over the performance standard for the amount of alteration. So up in the back part of the lot. Okay, so I'm gonna look up red cedar. All right, let me see if I can.
Still wondering if there was actually a native arborvitae.
There is, but it's pretty hard to find.
Yeah, you're not gonna get it around there probably. I think that was the discussion last time.
Yeah.
I don't know, but, okay, I was gonna get a picture. Okay, so, those are the 2 action items, and if we get something in from them, can we issue the permit at the next meeting, possibly?
yeah.
How many square feet we looking to add?
Did you have a kind of a ballpark?
Basically, the rear of the lot that's degraded should be restored.
So not uphill, you're talking downhill?
Yeah, over that hill, yeah.
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with the uphill side, it would be the downhill side.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so that would be from 149 down to 143, the downhill side. Okay, so
149.
if we get that from you, we'll wrap it up and issue the permit and the findings.
And that's all shrubbery, right?
Yes.
And lower stuff, it could be also maybe some ground cover, but just a restoration. We'd be okay with some ground cover too, right?
So it could be ground cover?
Well, it could be a mixture. Could be,
Yeah,
could
so
be,
you
some
can do-
stories.
It's that area right here. That's the easement.
That's right where those posts are.
There you go, Larry.
Could you, yes,
Yeah.
tell her. Okay, that's a picture of a red cedar.
Yeah.
Okay, so that will, something like that will certainly provide the screening that your neighbor's looking for.
Yeah, that's fine, I added 8 more, because she has 4 on the plan.
She-
So I
yeah.
just
Okay, that's good.
minus the 8 arborvitae's and added 8 eastern red.
Perfect. No, okay, one item done.
And also downhill where we're talking, there is a pole there. Eversource does have another rule that, I don't know how many feet from the pole, no plantings
They need to service.
Oh, really?
on a circumference of a pole,
Oh, do you know what the number is?
I do
What
not.
where would, okay. Come on,
Very
move.
large.
So
Where,
what's
where
this?
that's, I just can't
I don't know what
zoom in.
that-
No, just, can you just tell me approximately where the pole
The
is?
pole isn't located, it's down here, there's 2 of them, down on the concrete.
Oh, okay.
Without going down there, I couldn't.
That area
Yeah,
John's
down-
talking about.
Yeah.
Can you see them in the aerial?
It looks like they're not in that area. You can see them.
Are they in there, the
What are we looking at, the
the
pole?
turnaround right way?
Yes.
No. Hold on, I'll share it.
All right, so,
Just tell Eversource to get out of there first.
all right, so, does this require a communication with Eversource?
I think John's just trying to share where they are right now, so we can just be, all be on the same page
Okay,
before they go away. Are you? Okay.
So, it looks like the pole is, if you see, so the lot is in the blue lines up there, and it looks like the pole is right where my cursor is, the base of the pole, so they don't look like they're actually on that parcel.
okay.
Oh, really?
It's very close to that blue line, John. Both poles.
So is where my cursor is that the bottom of the poles? Or is that a shadow from the poles?
They put new ones in
Oh, okay.
within the last 2 years,
Oh, they did?
but I believe it's right by the blue line. They're right on that
Okay.
blue line, right on the lot line, right there, yes.
So is the
Okay.
rule you can't plant something too
All right,
close?
Well, they have to service them.
Okay. We'll stay away from that then. Whatever the setback is, it's probably in your,
We don't know that.
I'm not sure.
they don't tell you that?
I'm sure they do if they ask,
Is
but,
it Eversource?
yeah, Eversource.
Let me see if I can find that.
Okay,
All right, we'll stay 10 or 15 feet away from it anyway.
It's,
all right, so is there anything else aside from those two
Clearance.
things? One of them, this gentleman already took care of. He switched from the 8 arborvitae to the 8 eastern red cedar.
Correct.
Okay, so that's all taken care of, done.
And we just gotta do a planting plan,
That
in
pulls
in that
stuff
little
up.
area down there.
Yeah.
Right. Sounds good. Okay, and that will wrap it up, from what I'm hearing. Okay?
Did you want the full copy of this?
Sorry,
He's got
what's that
page
now?
1, this is page 2 if you want a copy. A full s-
Of the existing, is that the existing site plan?
This is the revised one that we did.
Yes, please. Yeah.
It's not the one you had before.
No, this is, we do need, can I have?
He's got page one.
So could I have a motion to continue the public
Wait,
hearing,
it's
notice of
our-
intent for
we need
78
to-
Mountain Road, by Ken Gillis, new residential addition,
Just for the
DEP
files?
file number 122-687, to the June 8, 2023 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission. Is there a motion? Second.
Second.
Ed, how you vote?
Muted, Ed.
Ed, you're muted.
Yes.
All right, you're not muted now. Okay, Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. By a vote of 5-0, this hearing is continued to the June 8th meeting of the committee. All right. You know, I think we're getting closer.
We are closer.
We are closer.
Definitely.
As painful as it is for everyone, I think we're getting there.
All right, thank you.
All right.
You said you want to change
We'll see if I
that.
can,
We'll
but you probably should
see
too.
if we can find
Right.
somebody.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for the patience. Appreciate it. Okay. Next, notice is hereby given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing during which time, the hearing is to take information related to a notice of intent and our Burlington Wetland Bylaw application has been filed by the Gutierrez Company. It's for accessibility improvements and landscaping activity at 1, 2, and 10 Wall Street in Burlington. The proposed work would be within the riverfront area and the 100-foot buffer zone to bank and bordering vegetative wetlands pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which is the Wetlands Protection Act, and Burlington Bylaw, Article 14. The commission will be reviewing all information relative to the application and thereafter may issue an order of conditions for the Burlington wetland and an order of conditions and a Burlington Wetlands permit. The application may be viewed by going to the Conservation Commission's webpage, and there is a link for that on the webpage. All right, someone here for that?
Yes.
Someone is here waiting very patiently.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Dan Dadinsky, representing the applicant Gutierrez Company, and with me is Mike D'Angelo of Michael D'Angelo Landscape Architects, who designed as well as prepared the
Okay,
plans.
and you are with
The Gutierrez Company.
Gutierrez Company, okay, great. All right, so, thank you for that introduction. Normally, the way we do these hearings is you're the guest, so you get to talk first.
Sounds good. And we have a full-size set of the plans that were included in the application. Those requested during the walkthrough yesterday. If anyone in particular wants to have them in front of them.
Is it colored in?
Excuse me? Yep. they're
Oh, it's
colored.
colored in, I'll borrow it.
Okay.
Here, this one is the colored one.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll bring it.
Thank you.
But I'm sharing the, oh, thank you, Rob. The presentation as well that you, I think you sent me that, right?
Yes. Yep. Thank you.
So you can tell through whatever you want. Oh, sorry, just tell me where to go with it.
Okay. Yeah, we could start on the first page.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I may have zoomed in too far now.
So we had met with some members of the commission on site yesterday, but for those that weren't there, just to give an overview of the project, the proposed scope of work. So we currently at 1 Wall Street, the office building on the left, have ongoing interior renovations for common areas, as well as the cafe fitness center, and modernizing the facade of the building, including replacing glass. And along that theme of our continual improvements to the building to retain and attract new tenants, we have proposed landscape and hardscape modifications, which include things such as repairing or replacing the sidewalk to make it code compliant, relocating ADA handicap spaces. We're adding 20 EV chargers, and then there's 17 trees that are planned for removal. They're all either non-native, invasive, distressed, or dead. and replacing them with 22 trees, as well as hundreds of shrubs, perennials, and ground cover. A portion of this work occurs within 100 feet of Little Brook. And we also have 3 trees that are across the road, across from Wall Street, between 2 and 10 Wall Street, that are currently dead, that are scheduled to be removed.
Do you want me to scroll down?
Yes, we can go to the next page.
Sure.
So these are some pictures of the existing conditions, and you can see that right at the front of the building, that top right picture, 3 of the trees are dead. We've heard feedback from current tenants as well as prospective ones that it's difficult to find the entrance to the building. And part of making this building more attractive for tenants and other people that come in and use the space, we're renovating a cafe that's gonna be closer to the entrance, proposed to add outdoor seating for it, and really just make the outdoor areas more attractive and usable for the tenants. Part of it is we're adding glass garage door style doors to blend the indoor and outdoor spaces. We are doing a net reduction of impervious of approximately 450 feet. There's no changes in stormwater management, no changes in paving. Oh, we can go to the next page when we get a chance. So this is around 1 Wall Street. The red circles and X's indicate trees that are scheduled to be removed. So this illustrates all of them except for 3, which are on the next page, located across the street at 2 and 10 Wall. So this is 17 total scheduled for removal. Again, all non-native, invasive, dead, or discarded. And they're scheduled to be replaced with, on the following pages, it indicates the 22.
Do you mean these? Or do you want me to go further?
This is still the removal plan.
Oh, sorry, gotcha. Okay.
So here, the more brightly colored green is the trees that are scheduled to go in, and it's difficult to see on the chart, but we also have illustrated on there the shrubs is the middle section, and then the lower section on the lower left of the page details all the perennials and ground cover that are scheduled to be installed.
You need me to move, you need to tell me.
Next one, please.
Okay.
And these are just zoomed in of one wall, just the main entry and the secondary entry. We can continue to the next one.
Okay.
And this is illustrating across the street at 2 and 10 Wall, the proposed new plantings. And then these are exemplary pictures of what is scheduled to be planted, along with the following page. And that's the conclusion of the presentation.
Okay, you all set?
Yep.
Okay, I was concentrating on these drawings, sorry.
No problem.
So, before I ask for comments from our staff on this, have there been any changes since the site visit yesterday at all?
Not since the site visit yesterday, no.
Okay, all right, just wanted, I was trying to look at the original drawings you gave me and what you gave me today to see if there was a change.
No, so the only change that, since the original NOI application, was that we had the car chargers incorrectly spaced on the plan. So we corrected the car charger spacing.
Sure.
Other than that, there weren't any changes.
Okay, good, okay, that's helpful. All right, so John or Eileen, do you have some comments for us relative to tree removal and replanting, I guess?
Sure. I mean, the commission did discuss, and I think the applicant did agree to some minor changes in the locations of some of the replantings, and the plans will have to, I think one tree was, on the side closest to the building, the location of a new tree was, agreed upon or something. It was some minor tweaking that the plans will need to be changed to reference. So for those of you who have been on the commission for a while, we've had a few filings for this site. It tends to get overgrown, and it tends to get overgrown with a lot of invasives. So Little's Brook flows through the site. It's somewhat recessed compared to, the rest of the site. So it's down in a little ravine, which is good for the brook in some respects. It helps it stay shaded. There are a number of trees, many of which will remain. There's two really large cottonwoods on either side of the brook, which provide a lot of shade. The trees, the invasive trees include Callery pears or Bradford pears. And there's also a lot of bittersweet on the site, which they'll be removing by hand. The plantings, they're certainly proposing more plantings than what they're removing. For the most part, they look pretty good. There are a few cultivars in there. So it's your call. In this case, I mean, they're going for a, fairly high quality look, landscaping look, and it's probably pretty hard to find the native species in a non-cultivar in the sizes that they might want. And it is a fairly urban site, so that's the chance. So, the benefits of a native species versus a cultivar aren't really as prominent as they would be in a site where they're adjacent to more natural areas, where the seeds could spread into the wild. Other than that, I mean, I think we've walked the site. We went through it fairly closely, and I had walked the site, or Eileen and I had walked the site with the applicant last September, or sometime in the fall, in preparation of this filing. So, we feel fairly good about the proposal.
Okay, so let's see what comments come up, and then you're certainly welcome to add comments. All right, so, Ed, you were on the site with us? You're muted.
Still muted.
Still can't hear you, Ed.
The three dead
there we
trees
go.
that are in the middle of the area as you come in with your car, they're dead.
Oop.
They've been confirmed dead. What are they going to be replaced if they're being replaced?
Yeah, sure. Mike D'Angelo, landscape architect. You're referring to the other side of the site, this plan right here?
Oh, sorry.
Is that correct?
This one?
It's just three trees by itself, so they look terrible. If the entrance coming in.
I think he might.
We were standing in basically the front of it, we could actually look over at it.
Are you looking at the right side of the driveway as you drive in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it these ones that were marked, that with the yellow? Oh,
Yeah, so those were, those were dead. Those are crab apples. And so that, as part of the discussion about kind of opening up the views and finding the entry in that island, it's actually the other page.
I'm sorry, further down?
It's the,
one of.
Oh,
Yeah.
did I go too far?
one more. Yep, so the island, the drop-off island, there was 3 dead crab apples there. We are proposing putting back one large Armstrong maple, which has more of an upright canopy, and the reasoning is so just we could help people that are using the building find the entry. So we don't want to put anything back that's too low. So we'll have the Armstrong maple, and then we'll have a bed of native sumac below it.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Let's go with Indra.
I don't have anything.
All right, Rob.
guess I'm just curious, how did you, like, decide on, like, the number 20 electric vehicle chargers for the site? Like, why, you know, did it seem like there's sufficient? Because a lot of places you'll see like 5 or so, or maybe 3, but 20 seems like a lot. I was just wondering if it's something based on the,
So part of it is with an incentive program with Eversource, and it also just works out with, so each charger itself is 2 spaces, so we have 10 being installed, and it just works out with the electrical capacity and the number of spaces along the side of the building where we're proposing to install them. I don't believe it's indicated on this plan.
Yeah, if you scroll up just a little bit.
So it would be,
Oh, did I go too far?
yeah, we could point it out on any of the full One Wall Street plan. So if you go one above, we could show which road is. So up Plan North,
Oh, too far. Yep.
the furthest Plan North row of parking.
You mean up here?
Yeah, up there. So that is 21 spaces. So we have the chargers there's 10 chargers for 10 spaces. And 2 of those spaces, we're actually blocking out 1 space to make 2 of the chargers be handicap accessible.
That's good.
Okay. Bill?
I like the car chargers a lot, and the fact that you're putting in an actual handicap accessible car charger is something you don't see very often. Commend you on that. The number is good because it's only going to grow in the future, so you're ahead of the game a little bit. I think this is a tremendous improvement over the existing condition of some of the plants and the non-native aspect of the plants. I particularly like the Clethra and the Sweet Spire. Those are terrific pollinator plants. They're, in my yard, are just swarms of, insects. I love those things. So I'm pleased to see that the selection that you've made. I think it's a good plan.
Okay. When I was out at the site, I had this overall sense that with the, let's see, just check on something. Okay, with the sun rising in the east and setting in the west, obviously, that the planting plan, as I'm looking at it, I know let me put it like this, I know the overall goal is to open up the front area. Okay, I know that's, you probably wouldn't be doing this just to remove invasive species if it wasn't to improve the front area from your perspective. Okay, so I get that. And when I look at the 3 trees being removed in front and the 3 trees being removed on the other side of Little's Brook, I see with the planting plan that you're proposing, I see that I think you're losing a lot of shade on the brook, which I think is essential to the brook. I have 1, 2, 3 here, and you have something here that's being replaced. I don't know what it is. I don't see the legend. You have something that's 1 tree here that's being replaced. And on the other side, you have 1, 2, 3 being removed. And so from midday on, you're going to have the sun, and so it looks like that you're opening the thing up to a much more open field for a brook that needs to be shaded. I just had this sense, I can't be 100% sure, because, I haven't looked at it at 3 different seasons to see what's really going on. But I did mention it to one of your colleagues. You were probably there, weren't you?
I wasn't there.
You weren't there. I mentioned it to one of your colleagues, and I asked her to take a look at that. Okay, so we're not talking about the other area, because the building shades it all.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not as much of an issue. But from the front of the building, exactly what you're planting, I'm wondering if some improvement to whatever it is you're planting, rather than shrubs, there's a possibility of maybe medium-height trees would, medium-height trees would still serve the purpose and provide some shade that I am getting the sense of that is being opened up too much.
Yeah, so if we can go to the proposed plan.
Yeah.
So I spoke with Andrea about that after the site walk, and we were looking at the solar orientation. If you look at the north, there's a north arrow on the bottom of the plan. So I think with the, the afternoon sun, when the sun's coming around to the west.
Sorry, you won't move if you're waiting for me to move.
Oh, no, this is okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you blow that up at all, or that's as good as you
I can zoom in, I'm just waiting, I've got one little,
So those 3 trees by the front are all the calorie pears.
it's delayed.
Oh, it's delayed. You can go and point if you want.
Sure.
I mean, I know it's old-fashioned.
That's okay. So these 3 trees are the calorie pears right here?
Yes.
And there's a north arrow down here, it's kind of like this, so.
Right.
I think when
Okay.
come afternoon.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. Come afternoon, I think that when the sun is in the sky, you have this very large cottonwood and a pretty dense woodland right there. I don't think those really narrow, short calorie pears are going to, really create much shade. I think you're getting a lot of shade.
Well, from the east they will, when they come up in the east in the wintertime, when you're looking at the southeast, that the sun is coming right like this, right, like an arrow, just like that, from the southeast. And I think those pear trees are pretty substantial trees now. You're talking,
Very, very narrow and upright because the building is sandwiched between.
Yeah, I mean-
So on the proposed plan, what we're planning for is, like you say, a shorter tree that's gonna have a wider canopy, so a dogwood would go there with some understory shrubs. So that was.
but it depends on which kind of dogwoods are very slow growing, aren't they?
Yeah, we would propose a flowering native dogwood, so the Cornus flora.
And so it grows how tall?
I have to check what we specify for the height, but, we typically specify 8 feet, let's see. So 8 feet day one, so that's a pretty good size day one dogwood. And then below that, we have
And what would they be in, say, 5 years?
probably get 6 inches a year on those,
All right, so
another
2 feet?
2-3 feet.
And what's the eventual height on them? Do they,
I think, if they're really, really happy and healthy, those get probably about 20 feet wide, 20 feet tall.
I guess it depends what you buy to begin with, how they're bred, right?
Yeah, and the conditions that they're in.
Well, it seemed like, when I looked at that, it seemed like you were adding 1, taking out 3 and adding 1. And your colleague said that maybe she seemed to agree that she could add another one.
Yeah, I think we could add another. We're adding a lot overall, in the whole site, but in that
I'm only
particular.
concerned about this.
That
because-
particular area.
Because it's just opening it up so much, and the summers are going to be so warm, and the sun is going to be so hot.
I think we could add another flowering tree.
Okay, now, on the other side, it seemed like you have 1, 2, 3 being removed, and how many are being added? I think you're replacing the one here, but I don't know what you're replacing it with.
So on the other side of the property,
Yeah, on the other side, when the sun
I think it was on
comes
the book.
over to the other side,
to Wall Street.
The other side of the stream,
other side of the stream.
right in that picture, the lower part.
Gotcha. So I got it. So we found, so that's being replaced by a witch hazel, 8
Yeah,
foot.
and how tall does that go?
That's 8 foot day one. The mature height on that, I'm not positive. It's probably closer to 15 feet, 18 feet,
You get very wide.
and they get very wide.
They
right?
get very wide?
So that's, that, for shading, I think that's more beneficial than a tree that's
That's
branched.
good there? People think that's good there?
Yes.
Okay, and what about the other 2 closer to the bridge? You got 2 being taken out closer to the bridge, and what are you replacing there?
Oh, I thought that was the witch hazel. Something else is going down there. Was it a clethra or something?
So that was the witch hazel and then all of the understory shrubs.
What's the AG? Was that
So
clethra? No, what's AG?
Oh, that's right. Down further on the page, the AG, that is an amelanchier.
In other words, I
I think
had
that's
if you look on the other side of Little's Brook, at the designation called 7IV, whatever that is,
Yep,
you see that?
yep, that's one.
I thought, I just had the sense, I'm not sure, I don't do your business, but I had the sense that you're missing a tree there.
That's the sweet spire.
So that's actually Ilex verticillata, so winterberry holly. So that will get, that day one, that'll go in probably about 4 or 5 feet tall, and that'll grow pretty big. That's, it has really nice red berries on it.
Is the sense that we're okay there, you think?
Those are all very dense.
And so we'll get shade, you think, even when the sun's coming in like this?
I think that's a good, it's a good mix. The winter berries are great winter food for the wildlife, and
Plus, there's a bit of a dip there, down to the stream, isn't there? I think so.
So, what does the commission think? We're okay for shading based on this discussion?
yeah, I liked your suggestion of adding one other flowering tree in that
Other side.
first area, but the rest of it I think is fine.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The other thing, there was one other thing. No, I get some,
While you're thinking, could I ask 2 questions?
sure, go ahead.
This was about I could pull it up. I was on the notice of intent. The management plan, maintenance plan. I think at some point, if I may be wrong, you mentioned sand, the use of sand. Does Gutierrez use sand on their properties instead of salt? I just wondered where this was coming
Not
from.
as a general comment, but depending on the location and proximity to wetland.
Yeah, it was mentioned somewhere here. I just was wondering where that is. You also talked about permeable concrete. And where is the permeable concrete?
So, if you
Should I
look
go back
at,
to
if
the
you pull up the,
presentation?
the
Yeah.
color plan, I could point, I'll get up for this, it might be easier for me to point it out. Can you show the whole plan?
You mean zoom out?
Yes.
Yep. Is that enough?
A little bigger, so you can see the whole site. So we're actually gonna have a net loss of impervious surface. We're putting back more pervious, taking out impervious.
Right.
So this is all existing concrete with swirly pattern.
Yep.
We're putting in a pervious patio, a little pervious patio, and this whole new entry will all be pervious, where now it's all impervious.
Okay, that's nice. That's a nice change. Just one other thing. There's a point, but I can maybe say this to you, like, personally. When you were talking about the maintenance, I would just like to see, there was something about, I could maybe find it. It was about the plantings and replacing the plantings. I'd just like it sort of highlighted that they should be replaced with either, what's in the plan now or with natives, not just with any old thing.
Okay, we can
No?
clarify that.
I can tell you the exact part that I was talking about. Just, it was one line.
Okay.
Just to make it crystal clear.
I remembered what I wanted to ask you. As you know, we protect bank and riverfront. This is a small riverfront, vegetated riverfront, very small. Is this planting plan improving the quality of the bank and riverfront that's there at all? Are these plantings doing that?
I think so. I mean, it's we're putting in, things like winterberry that have these really nice winter berries that are great for habitat.
Yeah.
Today, it's a lot of bittersweet and a lot of just junk.
All right, so this is, in your opinion, professional opinion, this is an improvement for the purposes of creating a viable bank with a habitat and so forth.
Absolutely, for the areas that we're touching, absolutely.
All right,
Plants.
thank you.
Same species. You know what?
Pollinator plants.
Now that I reread
Just
it, I
removing
think it's okay.
non-natives, replacing with
Okay,
natives.
oh, if there's anything.
And
I
there's
just
also a reduction
was
in
concerned
impervious,
about natives.
so.
It does say original specification, to match the original specification or size of nearby plants of the same species. So I think that covers what I was saying.
Did you call on?
Okay, sorry about that.
What?
Did you call on Indra?
Did I call on you, Indra? I called on you.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, is there anyone in the audience at all that's online? There's no one obviously in the room here. Is there anyone in the audience? This is a public hearing and you're entitled to make comments. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment?
There's nobody else online.
Okay, the record should show there is no other participation. All right, so, is there anything that we're waiting for from these folks, other than they're gonna add that one tree they said? Is there anything else?
No, we just need a revised planting plan to reflect those minor changes discussed.
And unless I just find something else that's a tiny tweak on the native thing. No, nothing major.
So we could count on closing this hearing and issuing at the next meeting?
I think so.
Right, as
Yeah.
long as there's a file number, I just checked, there's no DEP file number yet, but the project is in the DEP database, so I would assume
It'll probably be
we'll
back
have a
by
file
then.
number.
I mean, we will replace.
Okay, so could I have a motion, unless there's more comment, could I have a motion to continue the public hearing for 1, 2, and 10 Wall Street for the Gutierrez Company landscaping activities to our next meeting of June 8th, 2023?
So moved.
Second? All right, Bill, how do you vote?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, so by a vote of 5-0, this hearing is continued to June 8th. And I guess we'll plan on doing the findings, issuing the permits, and so forth at that time.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for
You're
all your
welcome.
help on this. Very helpful.
Do we have all the paper copies we need from you, or were any of those for us?
Do you need anything else? I have extra.
How about
I don't
you
know,
want
do we have a full size for our
Why don't you
files?
why don't you take this one? This has,
It's gonna get revised, so.
Oh, no, sorry, never mind, it's gonna be revised. It's just, we'll just, anyway. Sorry.
Here is your drawings. Thank you.
Do you want us to drop off a full-size set before the next meeting, or just bring it?
I guess
Before, if possible.
before would be
Before,
better,
okay. Yeah,
if you,
we
if you
can
can
do that.
manage it, yes.
Just one
please.
set, or how many?
You won't need a set, yeah, one set will be fine,
One
thank you.
set, okay.
All set.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so, okay, we're on item number 9A, planning board comments. Do we have any planning board comments?
No, I mean, this project is, the One Wall Street is a minor engineering change before the planning board, so I suppose I could comment on that.
All right. And subcommittee and staff reports? Anything?
So there is a subcommittee on updating the wetland bylaw, and I will I can't remember if I I did distribute
did.
the
You did.
proposed changes, so I'll put that as an agenda item for the commission, the full commission to discuss at the next meeting.
Okay. Are we going to convene a hearing?
We could do it as a public hearing if the commission's ready. I mean, the commission should probably discuss it among themselves and then have an official version ready for a public hearing.
Right.
We would definitely have a public hearing on it, but I would say maybe the second meeting in June.
Right.
Are we having a subcommittee meeting? Can you remind me?
I don't think we need another sub.
Okay, that's
I mean,
fine.
we're ready to go before the full board, I think, right?
Okay,
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right. The changes are relatively small. Important, very important, but relatively small.
Correct.
Okay, all right. All right, so we're not going to discuss that tonight.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, next we have a discussion and vote on a letter to the select board regarding Mountain Road. I thought what I would do is I would read it, I guess, and we can discuss it.
I've read it.
You've read it, do I have to not read it?
Yeah, you don't need to read it.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that? I don't read it? Okay, so, the purpose of this note is to express the Conservation Commission's opinion on the Windview Heights 2 a hearing that's being held by the Select Board on June 12th. And the point that is made, if I can just paraphrase for a minute, is that, that this project is directly, we're abutters to Little Brick Conservation Area, and we are direct butters to this project, which certainly gives us some standing. And we said that the town is signing on as a co-applicant on the planned LAP. Is that correct, that they're actually signing on as a co-applicant?
Yes.
because it was kind of interesting. I had a talk with Select Board member Michael Runyon, and he was not aware that that's the case. He said he doesn't believe that's the case. In fact, he said the only thing he is deciding upon is whether we need housing or whether, whether there's any potential damage to property, causing some harm to properties or people from this project. And if the answer's no to that last one, and then he said that, you know, he was probably going to be inclined. He doesn't believe that some of the subjects we're bringing up are, that they belong with the appeals board, I think he seemed to indicate. So this letter says that the commission believes that the site has a very challenging topography and geology. It has ledge, and it is a high elevation. It's like 75, 80, 90 feet above Mountain Ave. And that the removal of trees which normally take up hundreds of gallons of water per day during the active season, are now going to add to the amount of water being infiltrated underground. And we make the point that this Windview project, that on sites of this type, you can get a number of things. You can get, it can cause erosion, and you can get increased runoff and flooding even from water underground to down gradient properties, because with the ledge presence and without the trees being present, the water you're infiltrating sometimes has a runway right down to the bottom level. So, and then the letter goes on to say that phosphorus removal might be difficult in this kind of a setting. So anyway, after we say about all these difficulties with the site, we say that the commission recommends the following: that the zoning board of appeals should obtain a peer review, that it should request a technical review by conservation staff of stormwater handling, erosion control, water quality, peak rate of runoff. We say that we recommend the zoning board of appeals should solicit permit conditions from the Conservation Commission, and they should require a project design that minimizes tree cutting, and for the trees that are cut, a one-to-one replacement. Does anyone have any additional thoughts that should be cranked into this letter?
Should we actually state, or is it proper to actually state that the commission recommends they do not vote for this? We don't really say that. We say, here's our concerns, and if you choose to co-sponsor it, make sure you do these other appeasing things. But we don't really say the commission recommends against approval or co-sponsorship by the select board.
This gets into sort of a philosophy of the commission.
That's what I'm wondering.
And in the past 30-something, 33 years that I've been on the commission, we have, as far as I know, we have refrained from telling other boards how to vote and what to do.
Okay.
And my reaction is we certainly could write that in, and they can choose to ignore it or not ignore it, but I think it might be considered bad practice to do that.
And it's clear the way it is written that we have serious concerns. And when we say if they choose to co-sponsor, we're also saying that it's a choice to not co-sponsor without coming right out and saying that. So I agree. I just wondering if, what your feelings were on strengthening it a little bit, but that's, I agree with you. We would come across as us telling them how to vote.
Right. And the other thing is, Mike made a point. He says they have successfully permitted other projects, but they haven't been the projects with these difficulties, site constraints.
Yeah.
Okay, he didn't acknowledge that. He did say that so I added in the words here that we could consider adding in, that while it's understood that the Board of Appeals has successfully permitted many projects, okay, and is likely to engage a peer review, it says it is unlikely that a consultant would have the level of experience with the town's EPA-mandated stormwater bylaw necessary for construction and post-construction runoff.
Wouldn't you look for a consultant that did have the level of expertise necessary? I mean, that's...
But it's with our particular stormwater plan and what we've got in it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know, I mean,
if I hired a consultant, I would expect them to learn the rules of the local community and understand it.
right.
Plus, the parts that we have that are EPA mandated are really mandated for all the towns around here. So they should have that sort of expertise.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Have you ever seen the Board of Appeals call for a subcommittee, like with a member of the Conservation and a member of Planning Board, to help deal with a project?
You know, I don't know because I haven't dealt with enough large projects like this, have you?
This is the first 40B project that they've had since Windview Heights, which was in 2002, I think. I don't think they've done another comprehensive permit. No, that's not true. Corporate Drive was a comprehensive permit. Corporate Drive was.
Do we want to, as part of one of our recommendations, suggest that a subcommittee may be helpful? Consider whether a subcommittee.
Well, we've already asked.
For all the things that the subcommittee would create.
Right, and, independent peer review, we've already asked for a technical review by the conservation staff, so we've asked them to consult with us. So I think that sort of says the same thing.
I'm fine, I'm good either way.
Okay.
So I'll leave it the way it is.
Yep.
I mean, because that's essentially what a subcommittee would do.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So this is formatted as like a memo. Do you want a signature place at the bottom? Do you want to sign it?
Or do you want it just to be a memo from the commission?
I think it looks more formal signing it.
Okay, so we can add like with the chair and vice chair? I mean, we're not going to have, obviously, we don't have anything for the whole commission to sign unless you all want to come in tomorrow.
So it would be the same format as the one we sent to the elementary school plan.
Well, it's up to the commission, whatever you want to do. I like that format.
If you do that, I'm gonna have to have a chance to put those on in the morning and somebody's gonna have to come in and do it, because you wanted me to get it over really quickly?
That's right.
Well, Mike was anxious to see it. I mean, if he gets it Tuesday, he gets it Tuesday. I mean,
Well, so just saying, that's up to you guys, but that, I can get it over as a memo, at least to the staff in the morning.
So you'd like someone to come in, you'd like Bill and I to come in?
I'm just saying, if you're gonna sign it and you want it out sooner, you would have to come in.
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay.
That's,
We can come in first thing in the morning.
oh, okay. So I'm just gonna add like a
How
signature space
early
at the
will
bottom.
it be ready?
All right. 8:45. Give me 15 minutes, will you?
No, I mean, I just want to know, to say after 10 or something like that,
Well, apart from doing a quick site visit, I'll be there all morning. So alter the letter, add signature.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
It's just like the other one.
So,
Yeah.
so a 40B, it means that it's not subject
It
to
was like,
town's
what was that called? That was the
bylaws,
vernal pool one,
But
Fox
it
Hill?
is subject to
It
the
is
state.
subject, it is
Right.
subject to, it's subject to
I might just remind
state
myself.
permitting, right?
So,
But it is all administered by the Board of Appeals.
so who does the, like, it would still be subject to the, like, the state of Massachusetts stormwater,
There is no state stormwater.
like MS4, that's something else?
MS4 is local, we have a local bylaw,
Okay,
and that's to meet EPA standards. That has nothing to do with the state, really.
okay.
In most states it does, but in Massachusetts,
I added in some words.
the EPA administers it, so.
Successful.
But so there's,
Okay,
there's no stormwater bylaw that would regulate this project.
Okay. So like the, was it 310, chapter 310, section 10, that doesn't cover,
That's the wetlands
That's
protection.
wetland, because
Right,
wetlands-
and this
there's no wet-
this
we don't
project
have
is
wetlands.
not subject to wetland regulation at all. If it were, then our local bylaw would not come into play,
but that's, the
Necessarily.
state level would.
yes,
We would have a hearing here on the state level, wouldn't we?
we would.
Okay, but now since it's only by law, the Board of Appeals gets to do a comprehensive permit.
Correct.
Right. So could I have a motion to vote to send a letter
Just in case.
to the select board regarding the Mountain Road 40B proposal? Is there a motion to that effect on behalf of the commission?
So moved, Rob.
Second?
Second. Bill?
All right, Ed, how do you vote?
Select board letter.
He said yes.
You're muted, Ed.
All right, Indra?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. By a vote of 500, a letter on the Windview 2 proposal is to be sent to the Board of Selectmen from the Conservation Commission. Okay. Next on the agenda, upcoming other business. Is there anything under other business?
Just one item I'd like to bring up. I did hand deliver the memo from the commission to the school committee regarding the development of a proposed new elementary school on the Fox Hill site, because of the wetlands that are involved there. The vernal pool in particular was mentioned in our letter. And I attended 2 meetings on that issue with they have a subcommittee looking at this elementary school plan. They're no longer calling it the Fox Hill School Plan because the people from Pine Glen were offended that they should be considered and have a more position on the subcommittee. So they were granted some seats on that subcommittee as well, because they're talking about combining them and affecting that whole district. But our concern was particularly the wetlands and the vernal pool. They had a wetland scientist at that meeting, and he was well aware of it. He was well aware of our 200-foot perimeter from the high water mark of the vernal pool. All of the plans they submitted, there was 8 different alternatives, whether renovating, combining, not combining, et cetera, et cetera. And they all completely protected the 200-foot perimeter. They also identified 2 other wetland areas on the site and were flagging those, and they've been working with John as well. So they are very much understanding and going to protect, in any of their plans, our wetland concerns, so that was good.
All right,
Good.
thank you for that
Very
report.
good. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, anything else under other business? Upcoming meetings are June 8th and June 22nd. All right, and anything before adjournment? Could I have a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission?
Spot on.
So moved, Rob.
Second.
Second, Indra.
Ed, how do you vote? Bill?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. By a vote of 500, this meeting's adjourned.